Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. In early 2003, Lauren Powell, a 22-year-old college student, was faced with tragedy when she received devastating news about her friend Nick Foster. The information came from Ashley Goodman, the best friend of Nick's girlfriend, Lisa Parker. Ashley, her voice quivering, informed Lauren that Nick had inexplicably passed away in his sleep on the night of March the 12th, 2003. He was just 23 years old, with his whole life ahead of him. The shock of his untimely death reverberated through their friendship group. Lauren, stunned by the news, inquired if substances might have played a role in Nick's sudden passing. Ashley assured her that wasn't the case, making the tragedy all the more unfathomable. What made the loss furthermore heart-wrenching was that Nick and Lisa had recently become engaged. Their dreams of a shared future suddenly shattered. As the days turned into weeks, Lauren found herself unable to reach out to Lisa or Nick's family with condolences. The weight of grief and the awkwardness of addressing such a monumental loss left her paralysed, a decision she would come to regret. In the summer of 2007, Laura encountered James Latham, a mutual friend from their high school days. During their conversation, the subject of Nick's passing arose. Nick's demeanour immediately changed, his eyes overcome with sadness. It was evident that even 4 years on, the wound of Nick's loss remained raw and painful for those who knew him best. 14 years later, towards the end of 2021, Lauren, now a 41-year-old single mum with kids, received a startling notification on her Facebook account. A friend request from none other than Nick Foster appeared on her screen. Convinced it must be a cruel prank or a case of mistaken identity, Lauren chose to ignore the request, pushing the unsettling reminder of her long-dead friend to the back of her mind. However, in June 2022, Lauren's world was turned upside down. Through a casual conversation with an old friend, she learned the impossible truth: Nick Foster was alive. Lauren's mind raced with questions and disbelief. Unable to process this information alone, she decided to reach out to Ashley Goodman, the friend who had initially informed her of Nick's death. Lauren opened her Facebook app. She and Ashley had drifted apart around 2004, before Facebook was widely used, no doubt in part due to Nick's sudden passing. Life had also taken them in different directions. Lauren had moved away for her postgrad studies, while Ashley had stayed local. Despite the years of disconnect, Lauren found Ashley's profile easily. She was listed as a mutual friend with several other friends of Lauren's with whom she'd stayed in touch. However, Ashley's profile now showed her with a different surname, as she was now married with a young daughter. Lauren hesitated for a moment before tapping the message button, feeling a mix of nostalgia and anxiety. "Hey Ashley, it's been a while. I know this might sound strange, but do you remember when you told me about Nick Foster's death back in 2003, Lauren typed, her heart pounding as she hit send. Several agonising minutes passed before a reply came through. "Lauren, wow, it's been ages. I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what you mean. Nick Foster, he's very much alive. In fact, I just saw a post from Lisa about their family vacation a couple of weeks ago." Lauren stared at the screen in disbelief. She quickly typed back, describing in detail the conversation they had had nearly 2 decades earlier. Ashley's response was swift and bewildered. "Lauren, I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. Nick and Lisa got married in 2005. They have 2 kids now. Are you okay?" Feeling increasingly disoriented, Lauren decided to take a bold step. She returned to her Facebook notifications and, with a trembling finger, accepted Nick's friend request. She opened his profile, showing recent photos of him, older and unmistakably alive. Emboldened by this surreal turn of events, Lauren then navigated to Lisa's profile, her surname now Foster. This was easy to find, given that she was married to Nick. She sent Lisa a friend request, accompanied by a carefully worded message explaining her bizarre memory crisis and her recent contact with Ashley. To Lauren's surprise, Lisa accepted the request almost immediately. Within minutes, a reply appeared in her messages. Lisa expressed confusion about Lauren's story, but suggested they meet up for a coffee to talk things through and catch up on old times. She added that Nick could join them, giving Lauren the opportunity to see him in person. Lauren retreated into bed, her mind in turmoil. She found herself constantly replaying her memories of 2003, scrutinising every detail. Could she have confused Nick's death with someone else's? She dismissed this idea almost immediately. The memory was too vivid, too specific. She recalled clearly Ashley's tear-strained voice, the shock she felt, the engagement ring that would never be worn. Then Lauren wondered if she could have imagined the whole thing, but that seemed even more implausible. How could she have fabricated such a detailed and emotionally charged false memory? And why would she have done so? Moreover, she distinctly remembered her conversation with James in 2007, where they had both acknowledged Nick's passing. These thoughts chased each other in circles through Lauren's mind as she anxiously awaited the meeting with Nick and Lisa. Although Lauren no longer lived in her hometown, having long since moved away, she was happy to make the 3-hour drive back to meet them in person, while her ex took care of the kids. As Lauren packed an overnight bag and prepared for the journey, she felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The prospect of seeing Nick, a man she had believed dead for 19 years, in the flesh, both excited and unnerved her. She was quite surprised by Lisa's initial openness and eagerness to meet up, given the circumstances, and was hopeful this face-to-face catch-up would finally provide some answers to the strange situation she had found herself in, perhaps offering clarity to the conflicting realities that had collided in her mind. However, the meeting turned out to be sorely underwhelming. From the moment Lauren sat down, she sensed an uneasy tension. Nick and Lisa seemed hesitant, their smiles strained. As Lauren tentatively began to explain her situation, she noticed their expressions shift from polite interest to barely concealed discomfort. It quickly became apparent that the couple was unwilling to entertain Lauren's recollections. They exchanged fidgety glances, and Lisa gently but firmly steered the conversation away from Lauren's memories of Nick's supposed death. Instead, they began to reminisce and ask about Lauren's life, her kids, and her job, safe, conventional topics that didn't touch on the bizarre circumstances that had brought them together. Lauren found herself going along with this shift, discussing her kids' school activities, her breakup and her work. All the while, her unanswered questions burned beneath the surface, creating a surreal disconnect between the pleasant small talk and the turmoil in her mind. As the get-together drew to a close, Lauren felt a profound sense of disappointment. She left the cafe feeling even more confused than before, her hopes for understanding or explanation thoroughly dashed. The reality of Nick's apparent resurrection remained unaddressed, leaving her to face the discrepancy between her vivid memories and the seemingly normal life Nick had been living all along, all on her own. The drive home was filled with introspection as Lauren wrestled with the implications of the meeting. Nick and Lisa's reluctance to engage with her story left her questioning herself even more. Was her memory so outlandish that they couldn't even bring themselves to discuss it? Or was there something more to their evasiveness? Lisa's initial openness about the issue had given her a false sense of security, leading her to overshare in her belief that Nick and Lisa would be equally receptive to discussing the matter. But she now understood that Lisa's casual dismissal over Facebook was quite different from being confronted with the situation face to face. From that perspective, Nick and Lisa's reaction was completely understandable. Her claim, after all, was utterly insane. As weeks passed, Lauren found herself oscillating between doubting her sanity and believing that her reality had somehow been fundamentally altered. But why did Nick being alive seem to be the only discernible change? She found her mind continuously drifting into absurd and fantastical explanations. She wondered if she was living in a simulation and that his death had been undone for some reason, while her mind had failed to be updated with the new version of events. During one of her late-night internet searches for answers, Lauren discovered a popular online community discussing experiences similar to her own. People shared stories of memories that didn't align with their current reality, claiming to have switched between parallel universes. Intrigued to find others with similar experiences, Lauren created an account and shared her story. The supportive responses provided comfort and opened her mind to new perspectives on reality. Now, years later, Lauren cautiously accepts the possibility of parallel universes or timeline jumps. While still unable to fully explain her experience, she's come to terms with the uncertainty, focusing on moving forward while maintaining a quiet curiosity about the implications her experience has on our understanding of reality.